Hello and welcome to How to Tip 101. So this video is going to be an instructional video on how to tip and why you should tip. And if you're going out to eat, why you need to figure in a tip before you go. So I posted something on social media a little while back, basically polling people on what an appropriate tip would be on a certain bill. And it created quite a bit of controversy, and in fact I got unfriended by somebody I went to high school with because of the controversy of it. So I want to sit here and dispel some myths and encourage good tipping practices. So if you're a server, you know that going into your shift, it's basically a crapshoot as far as what you're going to make. We all try to strive for the best possible tip that we can get, however, that isn't always the case. And part of the controversial aspect of some of these arguments was that, well, you chose this industry. You chose to go have this serving job where you're not sure exactly what kind of money you're going to make. Okay, that is the case, but serving can be quite lucrative. So when you choose to go out to a restaurant where somebody is serving you, you should definitely, think about the tip when you're ordering food or your drinks or whatever. Just kind of get an idea of how much you want to spend and how much that tip is going to cost you. It should be figured into the cost of your entire meal. So what is the standard of tipping as far as percentage? If you're thinking it's 10 or 15%, that was pretty much outdated about 10 years ago. 20% is the standard tip for basic service, and that's the standard that most of us go by when we are figuring in how much we think we should be making off our sales. So how do you figure 20% of your bill? Okay, it's not too hard. So say your bill is $50. Okay, if you take and move that decimal over one to the left, that is $5, 10%. So you double that for 20%, $10 on a $50 bill. The reason it is so important to tip is because servers only make a couple dollars an hour. And that money basically goes towards taxes, social security, all that fun stuff. So they really don't ever see a check. They rely on their tips. So as a server, I go into each shift basically having a set minimum that I have to make in order to make my bills for the month. So say my bills are $400 a month and I work 5 shifts during the week. So that means I've got to make $20 a shift to make my monthly goals. Now it doesn't seem that bad. And I mean, who really has only $400 a month for bills, right? So as the shift goes along, I know I take a look at my individual table's sales and my general sales to kind of figure out how much I'm making for the day. So I'm looking at my sales at one point in time during the day, and they're $300. In my head, I'm sitting there going, okay, that's $60 that I should have made. And that is based on 20%. So now I'm going to break something down for you to kind of show you the importance of tipping and why it is so important to servers. So I'm going to run down the scenario and give you the outcomes, and you can base your judgment from there on why it is so important to tip. Okay, so let's say Chad is the server and he's going into the first hour of his shift. He gets 3 tables in that first hour, and say those tables generate $75 in sales. Okay, so if you're figuring a 10% tip on each table, that would be $7.50. Okay, so for that first hour, he's made $7.50. Who can really live on $7.50 an hour, right? So say the tables tip 20%. Alright, so that would bring their total up to $15 an hour, which is pretty decent. Going into Chad's second hour of his shift, he gets a larger table, and that table happens to rack up $125 in sales. If that larger party tips Chad 10%, that basically gives a 2-hour average of $10 an hour. Still not all that great, but at least it's a little bit more manageable. If they tipped him 20%, that would basically make his average at $20 an hour. That is pretty awesome. Okay, now, say that this table that racked up $125 decides not to tip. That drops Chad's average to roughly $3.75 an hour if he got 10% off the previous tables, and then $7.50 an hour if he got 20% off those previous tables. So not tipping really knocks down the average of how much a server makes drastically. Something else to consider when you are figuring in your tip is if you have a coupon, say you buy one entree, get one free, you tip off the original amount of the bill, because that is still figured into the sales for that server. So say like you buy one, get one free, and your original bill is $20, however you now have to pay $10, you still tip off that $20. So when it comes down to bad service, what do? Still tip 20%. The only way I would suggest ever tipping anything less than 20% is if your service was absolutely bottom of the barrel horrible. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any thoughts, suggestions, comments, please do so in the comments below. Love and light to you all.